So with our polylines created in AutoCAD, we can now bring them into SketchUp and see how to build the roof in SketchUp pretty quickly. So we're just going to come in here and we're just going to import the block that we had copied out. Simply just going to rotate this just to put it in position. That makes it easier for me to view. Maybe I want it like this. And again, using my face command, it's a great command. Watch that video if you haven't yet. And I'll turn this into a group and this into a group. And really what I want, again, since there's a lot of gables on this house, is to create a gable section that I can quickly add to my roof to speed things up quite a bit. So I want to keep this profile because this one's a great one to use for doing hip roofs, but I'm going to make a copy of this and turn this one into more of our gable end. And I'm just going to push pull this 12 inches just to give some depth to it. And really what I wanted is to have these available to me because we're essentially going to build the quick gable end to show what this would look like. And to do that, I'm actually going to mirror this to rotate it, and we can start putting these pieces on. Actually going to make a quick copy. There they go. And put them, show them where they would go in here. This piece will come here, and we're just going to pull this out because we want to reference it. So we're going to need that, and we're going to do something similar with this one, and you'll see why we're doing this all in just a second. But it's really going to be the extension of how this roof would actually be built. We can move this one out of the way for a second, and maybe we'll start with this piece here. I'm going to bring this piece and I'm going to start it first there and just extrude this out. Whatever distance, doesn't really matter. The important part is we want to rotate this to match our new, our roof slope, and then we want to put it in a position to sit right there, because that's how it's going to come in. And we can see that we can just come in and we're going to want to add, say, this piece down here. And what we're really doing is just going to fill in this blank right here, and we'll just add it to that. And I'm going to Control C to copy this, Control V, which is my hotkey for my solid tools, and I'm going to subtract that out and then paste that back in place. And I can push pull this back to there. So you can see we already have that fascia board kind of being built. And ultimately we'll combine all this together so it doesn't look so lumbered, put together. And again, you'll see that in a second. So similarly, we're just going to do the same thing with this piece. We're going to push this piece back, put it to there, and we'll rotate this piece. We're just grabbing this point and going to that point. Similar to AutoCAD in angled reference, we're just moving it to where we need to, and then this piece would sit, say, right down there. And again, Control C and then Alt V to cut that piece out, Control Shift V to paste back in place, and I can push that back to there, although this really would sit on top of that piece like that. So we're just going to fill in this triangle as well. Turn that to a group, Control C, and we'll just do this. And again, it doesn't quite matter because it's all going to be combined again in a second. So we'll push-pull this just to go past this, and then we'll clean it up. Again, it's just quickly making a gable end detail that we can, so we don't have to do this every time. We're just going to do it once and have a nice clean model to, or a nice clean piece of a model that we can use wherever we need to. And lastly, we're just going to add in the plywood piece that would sit on top. And push-pull that over and turn that to a group. So really, now you can see we have some nice three-dimensionality to our gable end. And what I'm really going to do, it's just always nice to kind of keep the iterations of pieces just in case we need to go back and re-edit. So I'm going to copy that one over, and I'm actually going to then do one more change to this now that I have it copied over, and I'm going to bring this down to here, which this is really our plywood piece, and this would be the edge of our wall. So I'm going to bring that up and get rid of that. And what I want to do is push-pull this 8 inches because we're really going to need to build the wall on the model, not on the roof, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So now that that's there, maybe we'll erase this and copy this over, because this is really the iteration piece that we need. Just find a reference point that we can copy it, and here I'm just going to select everything and hit Alt-C, which is my join tool. For some reason this didn't quite join up. I think I was slightly off on my placement of this piece. So you can see just slightly off. So let me see if I can fix this real quick. If not, we'll just redraw it. As you can see in SketchUp, any little piece that's off can cause a problem. So I think we're okay now. So if I add this to this, you can see nice, much cleaner now. I think this thing wasn't quite where it needed to be, so let me just take out some insurance, and now we can bring everything together, and we'll just clean this up. And there we have it. There's some little piece going on here. Let me see if I can fix it. Not sure what I'm missing. Let me see here. I see some errant lines. There we go. There's just some lines that were there that need to be cleaned up. Now it's all cleaned up. Now it looks good. And you can see we have a spot for our block wall to fit right into. And I'll show you how this works. So what we're going to do, this would really be our insertion point. Actually, technically be right there. But we can use this. I'm just going to copy this to right here. And then we'll push it back 8 inches. And so you can see that I now have a spot for my wall to fit in. And to do that, we want to come into the wall. I'm going to draw these lines so that I can break this wall from that piece. And I'm going to push pull until I get to that corner, and then here will be the fun and easy part. Right in the middle, I'm going to split it, grab this line, and if I move this line in a vertical fashion and snap to this plane, you can see that I have my gable wall built, and now I can just simply grab this piece and stretch, come right up there, and then I can push pull this all the way back to here. We can quickly reference the CAD plans again just to see what's going on. So you can see that this is the piece we built, and we'll eventually come back in and add this sort of hip piece, which will clean up this valley. So we're not going to worry about that too much right now. And just to show you how quickly we can build these roofs, I can now take this piece. I know it's going to be an exact match right here, and we'll just mirror it by -1. Scale it by -1, which essentially mirrors it. And now you can see that if I grab these two pieces and quickly join them, I now have a very nice clean roof, and you can see why solid tools become very efficient in modeling. On this back side, we would still want to get our little bit of detail there. So we can grab this guy and make a copy, rotate him 180 degrees, and we will bring him up to here, and then simply slide this piece over to right there, and we can join them to that. And so you can see that just a little bit of pieces to clean up, but no big deal. And again, using solid tools, here's another fun piece. I'll grab this foundation piece, which is this right here, and I'm simply going to scale this all the way through the building. Select this, hit Control V for cut, and hit my roof, and you can see that my roof is now perfectly cleaned to where the house was. I'm going to undo so you can see that again. You can see that this is a full double-sided piece. I have this trim sliding up further than it needs to, but using this and my solid tools, come back in here. Now you can see this is cut out and my trim's cut back. I would need to do something similar for the porch. And really, if I was smart and planned ahead, let me undo. I have this piece here. I know that it's going to want to include the porch, so I can just push pull this to the porch. And so now this cutting box that I created, I can cut the roof, and I have a nice, perfectly cut, solid piece of roof that will sit right there. Again, we're going to build another piece of roof that's going to go here and attach to this, and we'll deal with all that. So let's get going on that and see how we can put those pieces together. So again, I'm going to copy this piece of roof over. I know that this is going to be my insertion point. We'll put it right there. I'm going to check my CAD file to see that we're going up that way. And so we actually are going to want to scale that by -1 to mirror, and then we will rotate it by 90, and then this will come and just going to touch this plane right here, and you can see you got, again, a perfect roof that sits. Which means that we want to come in and edit this wall. We're going to break that so we can push pull this up to right there. Oops, sorry, did it the wrong way. We want to break that way and push pull this up to right there. I actually think I have my roof sitting just shy of where it needs to be from all my rotating. It would sit right there. That's much better. And Coming back to my wall, I can just simply grab this piece and we'll run our clean command. So now we have a nice clean line to pull. Grab an endpoint, we will run this up and touch this face right here. Sometimes it gets a little funky when it can't see the face, so let me actually go lock it in, holding shift key to the blue axis, and using our x-ray I can now touch this face right there and it works perfect. I'll come back to my roof. I'll isolate the model just so I can make sure I grab everything. So I know sliding this up is going to cause a problem, and realizing it actually did cause a problem here, because really this ceiling would be flat. So it's a quick fix. I'm just going to group this all together, and I'm just going to fill this triangle in, and I can show you exactly what happened back on the piece we're working on now, of why I need to do what I'm doing. So it's actually pretty simple. Let's copy this over and do -1 and boom, make that a group. And again, just to cut through where we had already cut through, I'm going to make this cutting box, make that a group, Control V and Control C for everything. There we go. Now you can see I have a flat roof. If you wanted a vault, you would just add the vault into here. But there you go. Now we have a nice flat roof, meaning if I draw a quick section and cut it through, you can see that would really be technically be the bottom of my bottom chord of my truss, and then you put the drywall on top of that. But right now it's going to serve the purpose of our ceiling. And really what happened, and this is a great example of how to show it, my jig here started off with a flat ceiling, and when I stretch this up, so if I grab this point here, this point really wants to be here. So when I grab all this and I stretched it, hit X-ray to make sure I hit my point right there, you can see that it pulled this up vertically as well as to the left. And that's what happened in the other piece, and we just had to quickly fix it. But actually it's no big deal, because once we do that, I'm just going to grab that line and I'm going to pull it down and touch right there, and you can see I'm back to being a nice perfect horizontal. So there's some tricky parts about building roofs in single components like this, and to explain that, explain what I mean, what I'm going to quickly show you is building hip roofs is probably the easiest piece. So I'm going to, this is the outline of, say, my roof that I'm going to deal with. And say I want to build a hip roof. I know that in my CAD file it's really gables, but I'm going to start with a hip to show you how simple roofs can be, and then come back and rebuild it as a gable. So a quick way to grab my outline is, this really is my outline. I'm going to grab this piece, Control C to copy it, come in here. This is the profile of my roof. Control Shift V pastes it in place, and it's fine that it's not actually touching, not a big deal. And what's great is I can just grab this and then hit F for follow me command and let it run. Select everything. Shift R is my hotkey for reversing faces, and now I can delete this. I don't need it anymore. So you can see I have most of my roof done already. If this were hips definitely much easier. I'm going to close that off just so I can grab this face, undo, make all this a group, paste that back in, and add this filler in, group, and combine. And all I want to do is, it's just a quick, easy way to fill in that hole that was there. That's all. And you can see that the hole is filled in. And going back to our inference tools, you would see that to make this roof, or to finish making this roof, I can just hit Shift key to lock myself on this edge, touch this face, and we're just going to quickly move around this model. Not sure why that's not closing. It should be filling in a face. There we go. Not sure why I didn't do it before, but there's always a way to figure it out. And we're just going to continue to use our inferencing tool. So we know that that ridge would run all the way across, but now we also know that this ridge would be much higher, and this one would run across to here. So I'm really just kind of drawing what I know, and the rest really starts to fill in itself. And so you can see it's super easy to draw roofs by using reference or the inference command. And again, it did not fill in, even though it should have. Something just seems to be slightly off. I'm not sure why. So we're just going to try this again, and there we go. Everything's closing just the way it should be. So I'm simply just going to erase this one line, select everything by triple-clicking and running my clean command, and there we go. We have a perfectly clean roof. And so you can see how easy it is to make hip roofs, which is great. And so when it comes to gables and doing it in this jig way is great as well for a lot of things, but the problem that's going to arise, and I can quickly show you what's going to happen if I pull this all the way over, say to there. You can see that on a hip, and even let's say we have this inside corner, so we can look at this inside corner over here. You have this nice clean inside corner that's happening. And if I were to just do this and say grab this piece and join it with this piece, I have these pieces that just continue to slide through each other, and that's not what we want. There's different things you can do to get around it, and but really the easiest thing that I found is we're kind of going to do a mashup of the two, of creating a hip roof like we did up here, as well as doing the gable pieces. By that, what I mean is I'm simply going to take this roof and I'm going to push it back. It says I can go 2 feet, so I'm going to actually run it back, say 23 inches. And I'm going to give it a line to follow. I'm actually going to go further than what I need, just to make, just to kind of buy some insurance. And so I'm going to select the path for it to run on and use the follow me command. And so there we go. So now we have a nice clean hip. If I run underneath, see we have a nice clean hip to deal with now. And we can just erase some of these lines, run our clean command. And to get it back into place, I'm just going to select, you see that I'm selecting just this new roof that we created. And I'm going to grab it by this beam line insertion point, and I can slide it forward until we hit our wall, and it puts it back exactly where it needs to be, so no big deal. So what we can do now is we could take this piece and run it really to wherever, and so now you can see that we can take this and join it here, and we have just created a nice clean hip, nice gable edge, all super easy, super clean. And then we just need to fill this piece in here, which is, as you can see, will be no problem at all. We'll reference our CAD file, and you can see that the roof plan, really this hip is just running straight up here and over. So let's start drawing it. We're going to draw this line over, and maybe we need to draw a line that goes up, so we know it's going to be on this, so we can reference that, which is giving us our parallel edge. Holding shift, we can run it up to here, and so we know that that's how that roof is going to go. And again, we know that this other piece is going to run up this edge and run to there. And again, by the CAD file, you can see we have a slight horizontal piece, which is exactly what's happening in our model. So if we run along our red axis, boom, we hit it there. And we can, now that we have this hip drawn, we can actually use this as a helpful guideline as well, because we know that this is the exact angle of hip 45. So I'm going to grab this and move it right down to there. And now I'm going to triple click this line, and you can see it selects all the lines that were joined. I'm going to hit Control G just to make it a group, just so it'll allow me to isolate it as needed. And now you can see if I draw this, I'm going to start filling these triangles in. Similarly, I want to fill this in. And what I need now is just to reference this line right here. If I hold Shift, you'll see that this should hit exactly right there, and boom, we just filled in our model. I'm going to just turn this into a solid really quickly, just so that we can quickly join it to our other roof. And that should do it. So it's a nice solid just chunk of roof. That now if I select this and join it, there we go. We have this piece here, and all we need to do is just come in and drop it down, and there we go. Look at that. It's a perfectly built, nice, clean, solid piece of roof that just sits right there. So that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what our AutoCAD file is showing. You know, other than you can see that there's actually a much larger overhang, say 18 inches. I did mine as a 0, so that's how you can do a 0 overhang. You know, now that we have that, we can actually come in here and pull this out. You know, the 18 inches that we need, not a big deal. Same over here. Again, that's another great reason why we have this wall cut back. So I can push this out 18 inches. And so there you go. So there's your 18-inch overhang for the gable end, which leaves plenty of room to add trims and whatnot. As you can see, we are missing the soffit, but that's, again, an easy fix. I'm just going to draw a line touching the parallel line we're looking for. I'm going to draw a line that goes vertical. I'm going to turn this into a group again, just so I can isolate and work on what I need to. This would actually come down, go right here. So now you can see it's just a matter of pulling this out, the same 18 inches. And before I combine anything, I'm just going to copy this over, mirror or scale it by -1 to mirror it, which again will allow me to just copy this over. So you can see I have, now I can just join everything again. This is a great reason why to use solid commands, because it really makes modeling a lot easier. So with that in mind, I know I want to re-edit my jig, so maybe I want to keep my 0 overhang version as well as create my 18-inch overhang version, just so we don't have to keep re-editing the roof. So I come back in here and put that piece there. And you can see if I just create my, what I call my cutting box, turn that into solid, use my solid cutting command, and then Shift-C, or excuse me, Alt-C to join. There you go. So there's my soffit built back into my jig piece. And again, one more time before I join this to this roof. I'm going to copy this one over here, and we're going to rotate, and we will push pull this back to, actually not push pull, we will just move it back to here, and just join that, and join, and join. So there you go. Simple as that. You can see that Solid Tools allow for super easy editing. We'll might come back here and look at that detail and see how we can make that a little nicer as well. So that's how we did the ground floor. We can quickly look and see that we need to rebuild our second story, simply because it's not a hip roof the way we drew. It is a gable, although the rear elevation, you can see that we do have a hip right here, so maybe we can keep that little piece of it, though it's really not that important. So to do that, maybe we edit this. I'm going to turn this into a group, even though we're inside the group, just so that I can create, again, isolate it and work. Sometimes it's just so much easier to be able to isolate items. And it looks like this will work out to where I'm going to be able to keep that little hip piece, and you can get rid of the rest of the roof that we were working on. And now we're going to just simply build gable roofs the way we did before. So I'm going to come back into my roof block here. We'll come back in and paste this. We're going to put this right there. This actually goes right there. So we know that we're going to want this wall to be a gable, and we know that this wall, so inferencing, if I put my pencil here and do not click, but just slowly start dragging, you can see that there's a dotted red line. Now if I hold shift, I'm locked in there, and now if I click again to start drawing, I can actually draw that without having drawn this, but it's, as you can see, it inferences back to there. So similarly, we're going to do the same thing here, just so that we can create our wall in which we need to pull up, which will become our gable wall. So if I come down here and, again, referencing the inside of this, we're going to pull that up, we're going to pull this up, and we're going to pull this up. And then we're just going to find our midpoint. And this one, I'm just going to draw all the way across because I want both of those, and just simply delete out the bottom. And now grabbing this midpoint, I can pull up until we hit this plane, though sometimes it works better in X-ray mode. So there you go. So you can see I have that piece starting to go. Let's see if we can get maybe this piece. You can see what I'm going to try and do is copy by this corner. It doesn't really matter where, just the corner. I'm going to hold shift to keep it locked in on the green axis, touch this wall, and now I'm going to rotate this piece on the blue axis just anywhere on that corner, and boom, there you go. See how it fits perfectly in there. So again, I'm going to grab, this time I'm going to grab this one and this one because it really is the same gable. I'm going to start pulling this up, hit shift to lock in. Actually, I'm going to let go, hit X for X-ray, now shift to lock in, and zoom around to be able to touch the underneath, and X again to get out of X-ray mode. So you can see that we have our gable walls built now. Again, just like before, I'm just going to come in here and we will slide this point up to here. Again, making sure that, I grabbed too many pieces. I'm just going to grab this point, slide it up to here. And then remembering the important part is to bring this line back down to be horizontal. We'll do the same to this one. Make sure I'm just grabbing just those front pieces, sliding this up to here, pushing this down to be horizontal. And now it's just simply a matter of grabbing this one and again scaling it -1 to mirror, and we'll put that piece connected there and joining them. This one we will scale -1 to mirror and putting it back to join it, and then we will actually grab this whole piece and scale it this way, and we can just simply move it to touch that wall there, and we can just pull this all the way over and join these roofs together. So there you go. So there's one big roof there. And now again we have a similar issue going on as to creating our nice clean geometry. So I'll fix that in 1 second, show you how to do that. And we're gonna have a similar issue here. So what really seems to be important is maybe our overhang was not quite where it needed to be, because it looks like these are going to want to match up, meaning we're going to pull this out to match right there, and that's going to help us create a perfect roof detail that happens. And so really what I want to do is, I don't want on this roof here, I'm not going to really want this section of roof because we're going to join this to this, and then this is going to join from here to here, and we're going to do basically the same thing of on this roof. I'm going to get rid of, say, this section because this is going to bleed into this, and this is going to bleed into here. And so I'll show you what I mean. Let me undo, get rid of these pieces, and really I'm just going to draw some arbitrary rectangles just to create my cutting plane. And it doesn't really matter how far you go in, you just want to be past kind of what you need. And so let's go a little more this way, so it gives us plenty of room to build this hip joiner, and we'll do the same thing there, as well as gives us plenty of room to build this gable joiner. And so maybe we'll just copy this one over here, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So using our solid tools to delete those pieces out, you can see that now I can run this piece all the way back here. I'm just going to leave it so it doesn't touch. Sometimes it just works better when it doesn't, and easier to push pull to make things join. And we'll add that in. So there's our perfect hip line that we can connect back, which we will do in a minute. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. This one's much tighter, and really I was trying to keep this peak, but maybe it's easier if I don't. So I'm just going to cut this gable piece back, or this hip piece back a little bit, and adding that gable, or excuse me, the ridge line back in will be pretty easy later on. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. And so again, I was going to give a follow me line for the path, and hit the wrong piece. There to there, let it run, and clean it up. And so I can even just to show you what it's going to look like. That would touch there, and this one would touch here. So you can see that the hip sides are pretty easy to make look nice and clean, because we will eventually just do this, using our join tool, which will clean it up. But now really what we want to be able to do is create this connection. So what I want to do is draw an angled line down, and then we're going to draw a line that intersects it. And so that's the path that we're really looking for this to take. And let's see, this can always get a little tricky, so let's just see how well we can make this this work. All I'm really looking for is maybe kind of this fascia board piece. So let's just deal with that, kind of isolate that for a second. Maybe let's hide that. So actually I can unhide that. I'm just going to turn all this into a group. So you can see that we're going to try and create a piece that runs up. We'll see how well it works. Again, if you've seen my upright extruder video, you know, the follow me sometimes doesn't work well on these angles, but let's see what happens. We'll run it up. Looks like maybe it would work. Let's see if we slide this up. Yeah, it's just slightly off. Not a big deal. What we're really going to do then is we're just going to kind of build two versions of this and combine them, and that'll essentially create our jig again. So I'm just going to copy this, maybe push this back, and so it's going to pull this out, and now what I'm going to do is draw another cutting box, make that a group, and I'm actually going to put this here and rotate this box just because I want to be able to get a 90-degree version of itself. Because you can see if I hide this box, you can see I'm really taking an odd section through this because it's giving me a distorted look at that. So you'll see if I take this and cut it away from there, now I have a nice 90-degree line that, let's see if this works. I should be able to take this, rotate it, and have it fit. Looks like we're pretty close. What I'm going to do is we're going to get rid of this little triangle. And you know, now we can just mold to what we really want. This would actually just slide up to here. So you can see gables are definitely much more difficult than hips, especially if you're trying to get, you know, these nice trim details. But they're definitely not impossible, and we can find ways to make these work. So now it's just going to be a matter of you know, editing this to make it each of these pieces, say, separately, to show, you know, where they would fit in to look nice. So that's good there. And let me come into this one, and we'll pull this all the way back to here. And you can see we just need to get rid of this triangle. And we'll pull this back to here. Sometimes you give a little line, a little point to find. So now you can see if I take this and copy it to that, you know, we now have our block. Again, another piece of jig material, if you will, to create that that joint. So now that we have this created, we'll copy it over to this side, and we just need to be able to find exactly where it needs to go, which would simply be, actually I think the easier way, let's put it here, and then if we grab this point and slide it until it hits right there, you can see it tells me exactly where it needs to go. I can stretch this out to there. It doesn't really matter because you can see that I can slide this back anywhere and join it all together. Then simply it's just going to be a matter of filling these gaps in with whatever, and we'll do that in just a second. So what I want to do is come back here and I want to rebuild this piece. And you can see very easy to do using inference. And I'm just going to back it up just a little because I don't want to go past here, because we did a lot of work to make that look nice and clean. And so maybe we can actually pull it right to there, and that should be perfect. So now we can start bringing the roof together. So we'll join this with this, and this, and this, and this. So you can see that we have a roof, nice roof built. Looks like we were off just a little bit on this side. Let me undo my joining. Looks like I just got to bring this in just a touch. To there. There we go. Now we can rejoin everything. So now that we have that, we'll isolate it from the model, and we can start filling in the gaps. So let's maybe start with this triangle. Should did it backwards. I don't want that. I just really want this, and we can really push it to wherever, because it's all going to kind of again join with solid tools, and so we can do the same thing over here. Actually, maybe this one. Let's see what happens if we take this and paste it and push it all the way back here, which works out sort of well. What we're going to do is take this face and paste it. Again, turning it 90, so this way we can just run this box just like this. You can see I can use that box that I just created to eliminate the piece of extension that happened that I don't want. And similarly, then maybe I'll take this face here and we'll pull it out here, and again we'll eliminate that piece. So it's really using the solid tools to create the geometry that we want that fits together, and it all actually happens. I know it seems very complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it really starts to make sense of where to pull things from, and how to make the solids work to your advantage. Let's see if we can. This one might not even be needed, so let's see if we get rid of this. and do this. There we go. Okay, and again, let's just see if we can close this, and boom, there we go. Okay, so we have a nice solid piece there, which continues the hip over. Now we would need, say, this solid piece here to just finish closing up the gable. So we'll see if we can do this. I'm just going to follow along what it's telling us. Run that to there. And so there we go. So let's see, now this is telling me this is not a solid, and so we just need to figure out why. And this is where our solid tools come into play. And we'll run F2, and there we go. It's telling me there's something happening here. Maybe there's double face. Yep, there was. So I deleted one, which means was another one there, and we got rid of it. And there's your solid tools in action of how to use them to your advantage. And we will do the same thing on this side. We'll grab this triangle and push it all the way back. Grab this piece, turn this to a group, and I'm going to push this out. And again, grab this piece. And really, it's a lot about just trying to find ways that you can create boxes to cut and to create the exact shapes that you're looking for. This actually looks like we can actually copy this and paste it, and maybe we'll just stretch it out. And again, you can see it's not, you don't have to be super exact with these if there's overlapping, because they're all going to become the same geometry anyway. So even though this looks a mess right now, you can see that as I start to combine things, it really starts cleaning them up, and you find pretty quickly where there's geometry you don't want, and you just simply go in and erase it. And so there it is, closed. You can see we really want to get rid of this thing too, so not a big deal. We'll just start pushing this around to get it to where we can start getting rid of it. I think maybe this would slide back to here. Actually, I think really it would be this to this. I see what I missed. And we can get rid of this piece. So we'll run our cleanup, and there you go. So there's our roof. Oh, looks like really this would disappear as well. So as you can definitely see, working with gables can be easy depending on what's going on. They can also be a big pain in the butt, trying to join these here. There's lots of different ways of doing it, and there could have been easier ways than what I did. but you know, but the point is that they're really not impossible. Um, you know, you can see that we have a really nice roof here going on. I do need to get rid of this piece. Just again, really want to keep erroneous material at a dead minimum. Just gets in the way, causes problems later on. So we're just trying to really keep things clean from the very beginning. It may seem like a lot of effort up front, but the little bit of effort now, you know, creates a much better experience as we move forward. So even though that was a little bit of an effort, you can see that we now have this very perfect roof that's being built, and really we have a situation to where if we needed to, the smart thing to then do is again, the way I like to build jigs that help us with similar pieces later on. You know, maybe we take this, you know, do something like this, and let's say maybe we take a copy it over, say 100 feet. We select these two pieces and use our intersect tool, and here you go. Here's a jig that is showing you exactly how to do a gable to a hip. And so next time we have this condition in another house, you know, maybe this is a model house of 4 or 5, 6 houses we're doing, and we're going to do a similar style on another house, so we're going to have the same condition. Here you go. Here's this piece. You just build it and just plop it in as you need to. So that's a great way to, again, to continue to use creating jigs that work in your favor. So there we are with most of the roof complete. We really have one more piece to do, which is this back piece. So again, let's reference our model, and you can see that this is just going to be a nice simple gable roof that'll run across the back. This should take us no time at all. So we're going to grab our roof piece. We'll copy it over here. We need to rotate it, and we just need to pick our insertion point and plop it in. Know that we need to add our gable end to the wall, and really, you know, one of the advantages to building the gable wall within the wall system versus the roof itself is going to come in adding materials, and we're definitely going to get more into that a little later, but I can show you what I mean in just a second. So we can just finish building this roof. We'll slide this up to here. Looks like we missed grabbing some pieces, so no big deal. Just come back, we'll grab and slide this up. We grab this piece and slide it down, so we have a horizontal ceiling. And again, if we ultimately do have, say, oh, that came up too far. Try this one more time. If we do have vault ceilings, you know, once we have our base massing down and our horizontal ceilings down, we can really come back in and edit what this ceiling should be. So there it is. So we run it across. See, this really has a 0 overhang on this side, so it's a good thing we kept our 0 overhang version here. We'll get it into position that we need, put it where we need, and just slide it over. And so there you go. So we can join it to that, and again, we can take this foundation piece, which is we know we want to use as a cutting box. So we'll just scale it to be bigger than what we need, and now I can use this as a cutting box and cut my roof to clean up whatever it is I don't need. So again, if I'm in here and I want to put a roof in, maybe we do this and intersect faces with model, and what that should do is it gives us a line right there. So maybe this is a vaulted ceiling, and maybe it goes up 24 inches, and there you go. So there you have a nice vaulted ceiling on the inside. So you can see it's really easy to come back and edit the ceiling once it's in place. I just like kind of building the overall general mass of what we're dealing with. And right now we have these lines, so we have our second floor walls, our second floor system, our ground floor walls, and our ground floor system, or ground floor foundation rather. You know what, I'm going to grab these, I'm going to Control X to cut them. I like to keep all my walls in a group, so you see I have this wall. Control Shift V will paste everything back in place. So there you go, I can isolate the walls and the foundation as one thing, and I'm going to do the same with the roofs. I'm going to click all three roofs and hit Control G. So now that I have my roofs in their own group, so I can isolate those and work on those as well. So there you have it. What I was getting at is, we have these lines here, which ultimately you may or may not want later on down the road, but they're great to keep for guidelines for right now. And as you can see, using solid tools, it really would be as simple as just using your solid tools and selecting everything, and now this is one solid mass and all the lines go away. And so we can eventually do that down the road, and it's very easy to do, but for now it's nice to keep these as a reference. So that's how you build roofs. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing, but this was a great roof because it showed a lot of different details, a lot of intersections, and hopefully really helped in how to create a lot of different conditions. As you can see, building hip roofs is super easy. We built this one in a matter of seconds, but as you can see, gable roofs are not impossible, especially adding a lot of detail, including the gable wall. And another item I was getting at, again, we had talked about saying materials will come later, which they will, but let's just select something, just brick, just to have something that really stands out. If I paint this wall, you'll see that now my brick wall really slides up, versus if I were to have kept the wall as part of the roof, I would then have to go into the roof and paint this triangle. So it's just a great way to keep things separate and really build it as it's supposed to be built. This is the wall, this is the structure, this is what it is, and this is how the roof would sit on it. So it's just a great way to think about houses, which really helps down the road as well.